You people. Who would have thought that a recorder-based guitar amplifier could unify so many people? And it's been only positive. I've spent the last couple of weeks just having a blast answering comments. And you people are crazier than I am. Oh, it's amazing. I love it. I did this last stint just to get it over with, because it's been standing there in the corner of my workshop taunting me like the French guys in the Hunt for the Holy Grail. And I really just wanted to get done with it and put it on the shelf so I could move on. But seems like I found the inspiration, and I'm afraid to say it, but there might be a 2.0. And what really amazes me is it's not only that the comments have been mainly positive, but people are really on board with the concept. And we've had organ players, actually an organ builder, audio technicians, electrical engineers, guitar players, recorder players, all just chipping in, really on board with the hilarity of it, and just understanding that this is a journey. Who knows where? They just want to be a part of it and help, and they have shared so much of their knowledge about their trade, their art form, to make this even better. And I'm just taking notes continuously while having a blast answering everyone. At least I've tried to. And then also the suggestions of what should be played on it. I think My Heart Will Go On is on the top. I don't remember who, but someone said something about this being Jethro Tull's wettest dream. So of course there's a few jukebox requests there. So yeah, that's basically it. So I made a list. But before I'll bother you with that, of course, there is a treat at the end. And someone probably down in the comment section will already have given you the timestamp of which to jump to hear more of it, because it seems like the 10 seconds in the last video wasn't enough for you guys. Oh man, this is... I'm speechless. Basically, I don't have words. Again, you're a crazy bunch. So let's go through the list. Oh, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. So I'm gonna be known for the recorder guy, or the kazoo guy, because I also made these. And it's not even Friday. Roll tape.
So the way I see it, we have three choices. We could refurbish the old one, but some of the tweaks that we want to do are inherently connected to the design, which is gonna make it harder to do. So then we could of course build a new one. But that would unfortunately leave the old one just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. And that would also be a total waste of parts. So what I think we're looking at is a combo solution, where we build new whatever we need to build new, and then we bring over any useful parts from the old one. So I made a list. Now this is more of a wish list rather than a chronological to-do list, but here we go. The first thing I would like to do is to make a new case. That will allow me to have a modular recorder assembly, where I can take the recorders out, work on them, and put them back in again without compromising the structural integrity of the case. And while I'm doing that, I will also make sure that we have adjustable recorder length possibilities. Now that's the last final fine-tuning of the recorders, which is a stage we'll never probably get to, but it's nice to implement it while we have the chance. And then finally, I'll allow for a larger air gap. Not that that's a problem today, but it's nice to make sure that we'll never have a problem with back pressure buildup in the recorders, which then again will throw off the tuning. And while we're redoing the case, we might just as well add some aesthetic elements to it, like lights, pressure gauges, more buttons. Now of course I'm not gonna add more buttons to it just to add more buttons, but there might be some things down the line that requires more buttons. But we'll get back to that. But yeah, that was basically the front. So let's head over to the back. Now, the first and foremost thing I would like to do here is to add flow valves. Now, adding a flow valve to each and every one of the air pipes leading to the recorders will hopefully address some of the tuning issues. And also, since I want access to those from the front, I'll make an access lid. After that, if everything works out, we'll have a look at the wind chest, or basically solenoids. I've gotten a lot of tips on how to make these quiet, from lowering the voltage to encasing them. I'm also buying one extra to dissect to see if I can convert them to organ solenoid valves. But that's a large job, which probably never will happen. Then there's the bus bars. Now these can be made more compact, or even better, I'll try to implement them into the wind chest just to move them out of the way. And with that added space, I could add a speaker. Now someone in the comment section gave me that idea, to implement a guitar amplifier, which would make me able to do only the recorders, or just play the guitar amplifier, or do a blended mode. And this is also why I'm guessing I'll be having more buttons on the front. Because this is a brilliant idea, but we'll see if it's viable in the long run. And after that, it's the dreaded relay assembly. Because it turns out the relays are just as noisy, if not noisier, than the solenoid valves. And why I didn't get solid state relays from the beginning is beyond me, but here we are. So what I would like to do is to exchange those for the solid state kind and also make them more compact. I've also been looking into making something out of transistors, but I can't really see myself soldering up 25 of those, because that is tedious. Of course, I could try one of those online sites where you can actually design and order your own PCB board, which might be a bit expensive, but it would look overly engineered for this project, which would probably add to the hilarity. Now, all of these changes will allow then for better cable management. I would also like to make the power assembly more compact. The way it is today, it's a unit added on a unit added on a unit after I realized I needed more capacity. So what I would like to do is to just make those into one unit, which I can take out and put back in again, in case I want to work on it. And while we're on the subject of making things more compact, I would also like to gather all the audio processing equipment in one place. I would also like to make this modular, because I see myself doing a lot of testing on this, just based on the sheer volume of feedback I got in the comment section of the last video. There's a lot of things I would like to try there. And last but not least, if everything above goes to plan, I would like to drop the external airbox and go for bellows. Now, I know that might be a bit complicated, but I've never said no to a challenge before. So what I'm picturing is two double acting bellows a bit out of sync to get a somewhat steady airflow. There will be some fluctuations of course, but that will just add to the soul of the entire creation. And there you have it, the entire list. It's a bit lengthy, but it's doable. Now I think I'll start with the flow valves first, because if I get those done, then I'll find an inspiration to do the rest. But before that, we need a bass line. So what I'll do is I will hook a keyboard up to it and we'll see how it sounds in polyphonic mode. Now, fair warning, it's gonna sound terrible, but at least we'll know where we go from here. Where we'll end up, nobody knows. So there you have it, the entire list. It's a bit lengthy, but it's doable. Of course, some of the items are more complicated than others, so I think I'll start off with the flow valves. Because if those works and we can address the tuning issue somewhat, I might muster the inspiration to carry on with the rest. But before that, we'll need a bass line. So what I'll do is I'll hook a keyboard up to it and we'll see how it works in polyphonic mode. Okay, so here we are. I'm sorry about the jerry rigging because it turns out that what I thought was MIDI input on the front was actually wired as a MIDI output. Don't ask me why, I don't know what I thought at the time, that I needed a MIDI output rather than a MIDI input, but here we are. But I hooked it up to the back, and I thought the first thing we'll start with is just to test and see if all the, well, basically relays and solenoid valves work exactly as intended and that they are mapped up so that they work with all the 25 keys on this keyboard. So that's the plan. Alright, so let's test out. Alright, the first C is turning on beautifully. Ah, they're all working beautifully. The mapping with the keyboard, perfect. They're even playing in the chronological order. Or should I say chromatic order? Bit unsure if that's the right word. Well, anyhow, let's roll with it. Okay, moment of truth. Let's do a C chord. Works flawlessly. No issues turning 3 valves on. Let's do 6th. Do the C in both octaves. No problem playing at least 6 notes simultaneously. And I mean, alright. 10, 12 does actually give you a voltage drop, but it's not really an issue. But then again, I think these solenoid valves are not very refined, so we might actually get away with restricting the current running through them. If I need to modify them, I'll look into that as well. Someone actually also said that you could reduce the voltage to them to make the impact sound less powerful, so I'll also look into that. But I really think I need to order one more solenoid valve just to dissect it to see what can be done with it in the current state, or if it actually can be rebuilt to something more similar of an organ solenoid valve. Because buying those are ridiculously expensive, I imagine. I haven't really checked, but it's not a big global market for those, so. But yeah, I feel that I'm procrastinating putting the fan on. Because there is something about the giddiness before you know how it sounds like. I mean, after you've tested it, then you'll know, and then the excitement is gone. Okay, we can't really wait for that. So let's move over to the other side. And then our makeshift keyboard stand. So let's see if we can't fish out a few cables. Getting kind of decent at soldering MIDI cables at this point, which is a nice skill that everyone should know, I guess. So there we are. Power. All right. Still working. All right. So there's no more putting it off, I guess. Let's rock and roll. Alright, let's turn on the fan. Alright, let's start at a low setting. Alright, let's just test a single C. Alright, let's try that lower one. That's a decent tone, actually. Alright, moment of truth. Let's try a C. an entire chord. That's actually pleasant. That's not bad at all. Except they're not quite in tune, but let's try a higher C. Alright, let's see if adjusting the pressure do anything. Get a nice modulation there. Alright, you want a higher pressure on the second octave. Yeah, the lower one plays decently at that level as well. Alright. A few recorders that don't want to play. Sounds like something is restricting the airflow. And that might just as well be sawdust from inside the wind chest. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, okay. Right, it's hard to see what goes on for this thumb hole. If a tape is gotten loose, it's very hard to see, and even harder to do something about without taking it apart. But yeah. Wish I could play something though, but alright. So there we have it. We have a bass line for polyphonic capabilities. Now, people have requested a lot of tunes, and My Heart Will Go On is the top contender. So I have been planning on making like a medley before I start modifying that. So I'll probably post a video just playing tunes by request. A jukebox session, so to speak, before I start doing anything with it. That's gonna sound terrible. But it's gonna also be awesome. But yeah, I'm pleased. I think the tunability is within reach, but the pressure difference between the lower octave and the higher one, alright, individual flow valves might be the way to go, but there might also be some additional steps that one needs to take to get. Okay, it feels wrong using the word perfect. So let's stick to better. But yeah, it's time to call it a night. And then we'll see what tomorrow brings.